All right. Well, thank you all for joining. I am Abby Delaney. I am Big Rep's marketing manager, and we'd like to thank you all for joining us today for this virtual demo. We've got our great partner, SourceGraphics, here that we'll introduce in a few minutes. Just want to go over a few housekeeping items since we are virtual. We are going to try to make this as interactive as we can, knowing that we can't actually physically be with you, but we want to try as hard as we can. So we really want the demo to feel like you were standing next to Chris in Boston getting the demo, or joining Anish there in his office there. So just a few housekeeping things. This is interactive, like I said, so we'll have a chance for questions. After each product, we will pause and I will ask Chris some questions. So 2 ways to submit those. If you want to chat them, you can type them into your chat box by clicking on the chat on the bottom of your Zoom control. And those questions will come to me and I will pipe in and ask them to Chris. If you're feeling bold today and you would like to actually raise your hand, there is a little icon if you click on the More button next to your name, and there will be a raise your hand and I will see that, and then I can call on you and you can actually ask your question live. And final important thing is, depending on which view you have your Zoom set for, there's gallery view and then there's presentation or speaker view. The gallery view is the Brady Bunch view where you see all the little boxes. For today, if you want to go ahead and switch that over to the other view, it will just make the main speaker in a large screen, which will really help when Chris is doing his demo. So I think that is about it for some housekeeping. We will also have some polls that I'll periodically throw up there too. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Frank.
Thanks, Abby, and welcome everybody. And for this virtual demo, we would prefer to have you at our office, which is behind the Chris Lee name right there, which is in Wilmington, Massachusetts, and just outside of Boston, or where Anish is in Southern California there at the SourceGraphics office, or what we would have typically have seen you at one of the recent or upcoming trade shows that are all been canceled this year. So thank you for being flexible with us. We think this is a good opportunity for you to see the equipment, ask questions, and it's really been successful. So thank you for joining it. And I introduce myself, Frank Marangel. I'm the U.S. President for Big Rep America and responsible for making sure that we grow the company professionally and that we make happy customers. And hopefully we can convince some of you today that we can earn the respect of your business. So who is Big Rep? Big Rep, just for a minute, Big Rep is founded in 2014, so it's about 6 years old. It's a Berlin-based company, and we pride ourselves on good German engineering. And from the start, it had one focus, which is large format thermoplastic extrusion systems, so large 3D printing systems. And we are the leaders in large format 3D printers with more than 500 printers around the world, many of those to Fortune 100 companies. So who's who. Just recently we've seen sold to Daimler, to Airbus, to all the automotive companies, many consumer good companies. So there is many companies that are successfully using Big Rep equipment, and Chris will go through some of the engineering that goes into the system, but it's not as easy as taking a desktop and making it a large format 3D printer. And some of that is that we want to have good support partners like SourceGraphics, and we want to have support for them in our office. So from the start, we knew to be a successful capital equipment company, we wanted to be global. We had to be in the region. So we have a U.S. office in Boston, Massachusetts, and that's where we do the backup support for our resellers, from the sales, from the support, customer support, from the logistics side. So we have storage of equipment, of spare parts, and of filament, and we have an online shop. So from our U.S. customer standpoint, you're buying from an American company and from American shipment location. So in a capital equipment business, you need to be able to be responsive to your customers. So if you're down, we want to make sure that we're there for you, like I said, locally with SourceGraphics, or to support them through Big Rep. And I didn't mention, but our Asia subsidiary is in Singapore. We are evolving as a company. My last point is from selling systems to actually selling solutions. So we have an engineering solutions team that are excellent designers and consultants and application people that are helping our customers solve problems. And if you have a problem, please bring it to the attention of our good partner here at SourceGraphics. And one of the reasons we picked SourceGraphics, and you'll learn from Anish in just a second, is because of their ability to do professional sales and service in the local region that you're in. And we're there to back them up. So Anish, let me turn it over to you to talk a little bit about SourceGraphics.
For sure. Thank you so much, Frank. Hello, everyone. My name is Anish, and I work here as a 3D sales engineer with SourceGraphics. I've been working with the company for more than 3 years now and selling from desktop solutions to large format 3D printers. So SourceGraphics has been in business for more than 30 years now, and we help companies provide solutions from the 3D software to scanners to 3D printers. And we are in the 3D side of business since last 12 years. With the courtesy of 3D Systems, we came in, and now with the whole portfolio from Ultimaker to Formlabs to Arctic 3D scanners and HP 3D printers, Big Rep holds the game for us, and it's one of the largest machine we have in our portfolio, and the most industrial one as well. So we represent different companies like this, and as Frank mentioned, we have a separate team of supplies where we stock here in Anaheim Hills office, along with other machines as well. So we do have lots of engineers working on the support side, and so we help the customers from top to toe. So yeah, that's about it, about SourceGraphics and what I do here.
Anish, let me ask you a question. 30 years ago, you started from 2D, large professional industrial 2D printing. Do you see those same relationships now evolving into 3D printing?
Definitely. The 2D side, we started with the large format 2D printers from HP, Canon, and OSE, and that market is now a matured market. But we are here in 3D printing since it started in 1980s. Still, it's in its infancy and going at rocket speed. So we definitely believe that whatever happened and matured market in the 2D side, definitely 3D is going in that direction. And I hope that it is going to disrupt the manufacturing more and more.
Yes, it gives you an opportunity to introduce 3D printing to people that may not be in our normal circles, our normal bubble, which is really interesting.
The cities, the architect's office, or smaller schools who need those big, definitely we get into them with the 3D printing.
You know, we chat all day, but they came for a demo, so let me switch it back to you, Abby.
All right, great. So Chris, this is your 30-second warning here. Before we go live to Chris, I'm just going to do a quick poll here of everyone on the call. Just looking, are you currently 3D printing within your organization? This just kind of gives Chris a better idea of where we need to start with the demo. Yes, not yet, but hope to start. No, with no plans, and you're just not sure. So we'll give you a few more seconds here. Looks like so far, yeses are leading the way. So we've got a smart group on our hands here, Chris, just to give you a heads up. A couple more seconds here. Any last votes? All right, great. I will share these results. So right now, so we've got almost 90% of the people are already 3D printing, which is great to hear. And one, not yet, but hope to start soon. So let's convert that one right here as we go to this demo here. So Chris, are you there?
Yep, here, Abby.
All right, let's switch over to you.
All set.
All right, it's all you.
All right,
sorry,
thank you,
wait,
Abby.
Sorry, before Chris jumps in, if you do have questions, don't forget, feel free to type those in. And then I will ask those to Chris as he goes.
Okay, perfect.
Chris,
Thank you, Abby.
We lost your video though.
And then you feeling something back there? Audio still good, yes?
Audio is great, just no picture.
All right, perfect. So while I set this up, so just some logistics to reiterate what Abby was saying. We'll go through 3 machines, the Big Rep 1, the Big Rep Pro, and the Studio G2. Take about 5 to 10 minutes to go through some of the engineering hardware and capabilities of each machine. After each run through, we'll get some questions and answers. After I go through the machines, our application engineer specialist, Maggie, will go through our slicing software, Blade, and you guys should have a lot more information on the full capability of the big rep printers. So take a step back. My name is Chris Lee, a application engineer and technician for Big Rep. I'm accompanied by Amnon Hamami, our operation and service manager. The first machine that we'll be taking you guys through is the Big Rep 1. Out of the 500 machines that Frank mentioned we have globally, about 300 of them are the Big Rep 1. The reason for that is the Big Rep 1 was our flagship machine, our first machine. Currently, we are on our third generation of the Big Rep 1. We call it the Big Rep 1 due to its large build volume of 1 cubic meter, hence the 1. You can see it offers a dual extrusion capability. They are retracting heads, so you're not going to get both of them printing at the same time. We do have options for that if you want, but most of our customers do the setup that you see here. The extruders themselves offer a wide range of nozzle sizes, anywhere from 0.6 to 2 millimeters. With that range of nozzle sizes, you get a wider range of resolution and throughput capabilities. So whether
Frank, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, looks like we're having a little technical difficulties. They had a hurricane like come through yesterday. So while I get Chris back here, I'm going to kick it back to Frank here.
Okay.
I guess just a question. So where do you see AM fitting into the manufacturing and design process? Maybe you and Anish can chat about that.
Yeah, so I mean, some of very exciting opportunities in end use parts are evolving right now. So really moving out of just design and moving into functional materials. And I think Chris is going to get to some of that when he gets to the Pro and the G2. And the reasons for the Pro and the G2 are the ability to print higher materials. Chris, sorry, we're just dancing while you're.
No, my apologies. I'm back to life now. You guys can hear me just fine?
Yeah, well, you know what? We're just trying to prove to everybody that it's live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. This is
It
not
most certainly
edited.
is.
And not edited for sure.
No.
Go ahead.
So I'll just go in a little bit about the resolution and the throughput of the Big Rep 1. Just to ensure there's a lot of options based on how you want to print. You can do multiple colors, multiple materials, different processes, all within the same job. Because of the dual extrusion and the way we slice our parts, you can do it in a million different ways. And SourceGraphics and Big Rep will support our customers with that training, understanding the full capabilities of the Big Rep machines and making sure that they're printing exactly how they want to for the applications that they need. So a bit more about the machine. The huge bed is actually 1/4-inch aluminum with a polyamide sheet or Kapton film on top. With that Kapton film, it does a couple different things. One is improved material adhesion to the bed, so you're not getting any warping or slipping. And then secondly, it improves the temperature distribution, so you're not getting any cold spots or things like that. So as Frank mentioned earlier, you're not just taking a desktop printer and increasing it by 4 times the size. There's a lot more engineering that goes into it. So you can see the heavy duty gantry system. We have various e-stop sensors, out-of-filament sensors, all of the necessary hardware you would need to run a machine like this 24/7, 365, all year round. I've installed these anywhere from office spaces to high-end warehouses to even movie sets. So if you can model it and you can 3D print it, Big Rep will do it. So a bit on materials and our open platform. So Big Rep does offer a wide range of certified materials, anywhere from TPU materials like what I have here to your standard POAs, PETGs, water-soluble supports. If there's something that isn't necessarily in our repertoire, we do have a open source, open material platform where customers find third-party alternatives that they want to run. The machine's more than happy to run it for you. And you also have the technical support to get the process settings idealized for that certain material. So now if you want to take a walk behind the machine, we can take a look at the material and some ways that we pre-process certain materials to make sure they'll print well. So all of our material comes in large spools with 2.85 millimeter diameter filament. We sell spools anywhere from 2.3 kilograms to 8 kilograms. I've had customers use spools as large as 25 kilograms. So it's really up to you and what you want to purchase. Certain materials like TPU or water soluble materials, they like humidity and moisture a bit too much for our liking. So what we offer in various accessory packages are these dry boxes. Some can be heated, some don't have to be. We also have these dry packs that do their job of removing any leftover moisture for these pesky materials so that they'll run well and not have any issues with clogging or loss of quality. So one thing I forgot to mention about the bed and all of the engineering that goes into it, in order to get this bed level and stay level, we have a inductive sensor on the left side of the extruder. What that is a fancy proximity sensor. So during installation, the proximity sensor will read various points across the bed. The technician or the customer together will read those points and adjust those points to plus or minus 0.02 millimeters. So to put that into perspective, that's about half the thickness of a human hair. So very tight tolerances. Once we do that once or twice during the installation, the bed is made to stay put, and it does. For day-to-day maintenance, there really isn't a whole lot. We check the bed every month, every 2 months, just as standard procedure. Outside of checking the bed, you have your grease for the spindles, your dust removal, just making sure everything is nice and clean. But besides that, there really isn't a whole lot. You just want to make sure that it's working as well as possible, and that's it. So some other accessories and features. So the PC panel is Linux-based. You can get the PC hooked up via Ethernet or Wi-Fi connection. That allows for either USB upload of files, or you can also do a remote upload on a laptop or desktop within the same network as the printer. We also offer onboard cameras that you can use to hook up to our Octoprint webpage, which just tracks the usage and the estimated print time left. You can also obviously see the video feed, take slow-mos, take snapshots, whatever is needed to monitor the job. And then because you're running jobs anywhere from 2 hours to 2 weeks, we need out-of-filament sensors. So if the spool runs out, once the sensor recognizes that, it sends a pause command to the printer, pausing it until the user brings on a new spool of filament and continues the print. So another thing on the motors themselves, they are nanotech stepper motors. The position tolerance is about 20 microns in the Z and 100 microns in the X and Y. Any questions so far, Abby, from the audience?
We do have a few. First one is, can you explain the semi-automatic bed leveling a little bit more?
Yeah. So the semi-automatic, that was the inductive sensor that I mentioned earlier. Just checking those points, making sure they're 0.02 millimeters, plus or minus, so that the bed is level and stays level for long builds and long periods of time.
All right. What's the max weight of a spool of material that the one can handle?
So by normal setup, it's about 10 kilograms just due to the diameter of our rollers. But I have seen customers bring in separate tables. They would 3D print their own brackets and rollers, and they had spools upwards of 25 kilograms at least. So it's really up to them and how much they want to have on at one time.
How can I monitor my prints remotely?
Yep. So that is through the Octoprint webpage. So once you have the printer on Ethernet or Wi-Fi, you can log into the IP address that's given for each printer on your laptop, and it'll show you the webcam if you have one installed, and it'll also show you the print time and then the print time left on the current job that you're running.
All right, a couple more questions here. Can the dry box be added or does it have to be purchased with the printer?
It's up to you. It just comes as a separate accessory. So if you want one, if you want two, if you want none of them, it's up to you. So if you're printing, if you just want to print pre-OA, all year round, you don't need a dry box. But if you want to do a water soluble support, then we almost require a the dry box.
Great. All right, one more question here just came in. Can I enclose the one?
Yep. So based on the working conditions of your warehouse, obviously the printer may act a little bit different whether you're in southern Louisiana versus Alaska. So we offer total enclosures, roof enclosures, whatever is needed to get the humidity level down and to get, could be in a metal shop or a woodworking shop. Sometimes it's a physical barrier. Sometimes it's a safety issue. Some warehouses, some facilities, they require that physical barrier. So we have all those engineering solutions and the ability to adhere to whatever you guys need for your specific location.
All right, great. That's all the questions I've got on the one so far. So let's move on to the Pro.
Okay, perfect. So this machine here is the BigRep Pro. I think this is a giant leap forward from the BigRep one that you saw before. With this machine, it's more of a 3D printing platform as opposed to just a machine itself. There are two main factors that drive that. One being a new type of extrusion technology called MXT. And then secondly, we are pairing the MXT technology with high-end CNC controllers through Bosch Rexroth. So, and I'm going to take a look inside the doors. The MXT, I guess let me take a step back. The limiting factor of most industrial SEM printers is the thermal process. So the time it actually takes to feed a material, wait for it to melt, and then you can extrude it, it just takes too long. So with the MXT technology, we now have a pre-melted pool of filament. So we're no longer waiting for that thermal process. Now the limiting factor is actually how quickly we can accelerate back and forth along the XY gantry. And then secondly, the Bosch control systems. So really high-end CNC controllers. The amount of information that you can gather with this, it's almost too daunting. It can be anything from XY locations, temperatures, flow rates, anything you would want to perfect your prints. And if you're going to print, 100 pieces there, 100 units, you need to understand what's a good part, what's a bad part, and set that specification. With the data we have coming in with the control systems, we can know how many parts are good, how many parts are bad, which areas are going bad, and then we can adjust the settings to make sure all of the parts are within the required spec, after those 100 units, 200 units are printed. So if you want the MXT, right now the materials that can run are nylon and then a few other engineering materials. Like I said, it's live. You want to grab the phone ending on? Thank you. So with the MXT, you get a lot faster speeds compared to the one. So the one already is about 1.1 to 1.2 times the speed of your standard industrial printer. If we compare that to then the Pro is already 2 to 3 times as fast as the one. And then with the full enclosure, we can do a bit more engineering grade materials like ASA, ABS, PET-CF, and then with the MXT nozzles, also including the ACE nozzles. So the ACE nozzle, it's similar to a one extruder, but now it allows for the higher grade engineering materials. So configuration wise, you can do 2 MXTs, you can do 2 ACEs. The ACEs allow for the same nozzle sizes as the one, so 0.6 to 2.0, whereas at this time, the MXT just has the 1 mil nozzle available. Because we're working with the higher grade engineering materials, the bed and nozzle temperatures do have to increase a little bit. So the bed temperature on the one reaches about 80 C. On the Pro, it is 100 C. The hot end, where the material is melted and extruded, On the one, they get up to about 250 C, and then on the Pro, they're about 300 C. So the part we have here was printed on the Pro in our non-toxic ABS material called Pro HT. This was done using the ACE extruder, I believe. So the direct comparison from the one to this guy, this piece took about 3 days on the ACE. If it was on the one, it would take about maybe 3.5, 4 days. And then if we decided to print this on the MXT extruder with a higher grade engineering material, it would take about a day and a half. Like the one, you can get the onboard camera that's actually come standard this time for all of your job monitoring. And then if you want to grab a nice little view, we can see the high-end controllers and then just the well-engineered build plate and build volume, just to make sure that you're printing exactly what you want. Some other considerations when working with the mid-grade materials, kind of a step up from our dry box. We do have these heated filament chambers on the left side. We have non-heated chambers on the right side. So depending on the material, you can dry them out here or leave them at room temperature on the other side of the printer. Then we'll get a quick look under the hood, just to show you the complexity of the machine and the hardware that we're working with. So I said 2 to 3 times as fast right now. I think even at this point, the machine is still in its infancy. We can get at least 3 to 5 times as fast, once we are able to really hone in on the control systems and get all that data and really maximize the overall throughput. On the software side, the PC panel is now Windows-based compared to the one which is Linux-based. We found the Windows-based system is just a little bit easier for on-demand updates. So now if customers need software updates, our engineers from Boston as well as Berlin in our headquarters, they can remote into a printer, do all the software in the background, and then have that done same day. Any questions, Abby?
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. What's the power requirement for the Pro? And I guess maybe backtrack to the one too.
Yep. So both the one and the Pro require 208 to 240 volts. The one takes a 20 amp plug, whereas the Pro takes a 30 amp plug.
Okay, great. And what is the approximate footprint of the Pro there?
Yeah, footprint. So I'm about 6 feet tall. So you could say 6 feet high, maybe 6.5, 7 feet wide, and then about 8 to 10 feet back. And then obviously you need the maintenance space just for doors, as well as the electrical cabinet in the back.
All right, good. Here's a fun question I really like. It says, structurally, how durable are the parts that can be printed? I'm a furniture manufacturer. Can I actually sit on a chair I'd print?
Yep. Big Rep, we do like our chairs and other furniture. So this piece here took about 24 hours using our non-toxic ABS called Pro HT. We've tested these before mechanically. It takes about 1,000 pounds of vertical force before this starts to buckle. So I think you, me, and Amnon could all sit in this before it does anything. So very strong. I mean, even if we want to do a higher grade material like nylon at the PETCF, I'm sure it could take at least 1,500, 2,000 pounds.
Great. I don't think we'll all sit on there together. We can stand on each other's shoulders. Are the build plates removable?
Nope. So because we're printing such large parts, we found it a lot easier to maintain quality from the first layer to the top layer if the bed is stationary and the gantry moves. If the bed was removable and the gantry stayed in the same spot, it just wouldn't be as repeatable.
All right. Any other questions we've got out there? All right. I think we're good to head on to the G2, the baby of the family.
Yep. So this is the Studio G2. The G2 is the second generation of our Studio line. The G1 came out maybe a few years ago, and then the G2 has been out for just about 8 months to a year. The main difference between the G2 and the G1 is that the G2 is fully enclosed. So you'll have the same material package as the Pro, but the MXT is not included on the G2. So you're gonna have the same speeds and similar throughput if you have the same nozzle size as if you were running a Big Rep 1. So even though there's only one physical head on the extruder, it is still dual extrusion. There are just two retractable nozzles on the inside of that piece there. With the smaller bed size, smaller is still relative, it's still very large with a meter wide by a half meter and a half meter tall volume. The motors are the Inotech, as I mentioned with the Big Rep 1. You have the onboard camera, similar to the Pro. And then you're getting your carbon fibers, ASA, all those big grade engineering materials. And then we have the heated filament chambers, as well as the temperature controlled build chamber. So the filament chambers can get upwards of 50 C. And then the filament chamber, the print chamber, because it's not actively heated, we're using the ambient temperature from the bed, which gets upwards of 80 C, making the print chamber about 35 to 40 C. And then if it does get a little bit too hot, for whatever material you're running, we do have the active cooling systems up on top, which will vent out all of the hot air, making sure that your temperatures are where you want it. And then just on the front side here, this is where we have all of our heated filament. The G2 is Linux based, so same thing as before. You can get it on Ethernet or Wi-Fi to have the ability to remotely upload files. You cannot start them remotely just due to safety regulations. We don't want someone to be in the machine or have a part be on the bed before someone tries to start it from their home. Anything else, Abby?
Yep. What size nozzles can the G2 run?
Yes, question. So the Big Rep 1, as I mentioned, was 0.6 all the way up to 2.0. By standard, the G2 offers a 0.6 nozzle. That doesn't mean you're locked into the 0.6 nozzle. Similar to our material platform, we are pretty hackable with our nozzles. So we've had customers swap out their nozzles and put anywhere from a 0.4 nozzle all the way up to a 1.0 nozzle with all different types of materials based on the materials that they're running, whether they want to do some third-party chopped fiber or Big Rep PLA. They have that flexibility, and they have support from Big Rep and SourceGraphics to get that done and printing well on their machine.
All right, great. What are the environmental considerations for this printer?
So the big deal is when you're printing with the toxic materials like ABS and ASA, we do have a ventilation piece in the back, so where larger facilities can get their air filtration systems hooked up to that, and then you won't have any issues with the environmental toxicity coming into your work area. So with the one, it does take a little bit more to get that able to print the ABS and ASA. So we do have a lot of non-toxic alternatives like our Pro HT. So like I said, we'll find the solution for you guys based on where you're printing, what machine you want, and then what sort of applications you guys need.
This kind of a follow-up to that one. Is humidity ever an issue when printing with the printers? I know you mentioned the South to Alaska.
Mm-hmm. Yep. On the G2 and the Pro, really doesn't make a huge difference because they are fully enclosed. With the one, it does come into a bit of a consideration. The biggest issue, outside of the water soluble supports, is different levels of humidity can give different levels of shrinkage and expansion for materials. So what we do during installation is run a couple XY tests to see your shrink factor based on where you're located, and we'll incorporate that into our slicing software. So even though you may print one part in Alaska, one part in Louisiana, we'll still make it customized for your facility so you're getting the right tolerances and the right throughput.
Great. I think this is one that's kind of a more generic question for all the printers, but what happens when a build fails or there's a power outage?
Mm-hmm. During installation, we calibrate the gantry in the Z-axis. In short, it counts how many steps it takes to get from top to the bottom. So if you lose power during a hurricane or whatever, upon reboot of the machine, as long as you don't move the gantry in the XY, the PC panel will prompt you with the option to resume the print on the most recent line of G-code. Once you get the bed and the nozzles up to temperature, you press yes, okay. It will go all the way up in Z-axis, count those steps, go all the way back down in the same number of steps, and then resume with the same XY location, and you're good to go.
Great. This is kind of a general question too, but what about surface finish and any post-processing steps that the parts can take?
So surface finish is most heavily dictated by the layer height that you're choosing. So on the low end with the 0.6 nozzles, you can get a layer height as low as 100 microns. If you are using a 2 mil nozzle, your layer height can get upwards of 1.1, 1.2 millimeters in height. So like I said, based on how good or how fast you want the part to go, we have a huge range of options to choose from. Again, I got me a nice little part here. So I believe this was printed in our Big Rep Nylon PA6.66. Looks like either a 0.2 or a 0.3 layer height. So based on the post-processing that you want to give it or not give it, you can get one good, really good part with no post-processing in 2 days. Maybe if you want it quicker, get it done in under a day, and then use a few hours of post-processing. There's always that plus and minus between the manual labor of getting it finished versus just the extra time done on the printer. So this piece here now includes a bit of post-processing. So just to show you that it is 3D printed, on the back side here, we have our layer lines. This is a part that will be hidden, so we don't really care about it. On the exterior, it was just a little bit of sanding, priming, and then painting, probably 2 coats of paint, and then mounted the seat cushion on top of that. Pretty simple process, and you can get some really nice looking parts in whatever shape you like.
Nice. How often do you have to replace the nozzles?
The nozzles, it does vary on the material. If you're running a chopped fiber, obviously it will degrade the nozzle a little faster than if you're just running PLA. If you're running your standard materials, it can be upwards of a year. If it's the carbon fiber, maybe a few months. So
last
again,
one here, and go ahead. Can you print with 2 materials at one time, like a flexible and a hard?
Yep. So you can slice it such that, I think we actually have a part like that. We do have, obviously, the big part on the one right now going. The black material is our TPU, and then the white material is PLA. A little bit smaller of an example here. It's like a live hinge. So this could be used for car door or whatever. You have your area of flexibility here, and then you have your mechanical strength and your load bearing area. This was done in a single job, no glues, no adhesives, just the material adhesion from our TPU to the Silver Pro HT that we have on top.
All right, good. So another question came in for post-processing. Can the surface be further smooth with an acetone, or what do you recommend?
Yep. So the acetone smoothing, that's done on our ABS material and Pro HT. If you want to do more complex post-processing, we do have a couple ebooks on our website that I can certainly send the link towards. And if you want more specific questions for certain models, we do have a print service website that you can upload a file, and then our service engineers can take a look at and really do that full engineering solution for you guys, from slicing to post-processing.
All right, great. And last question for me before we go over to Maggie. What's the best part that you've ever printed? Your most favorite?
The best part? We do have a couple good ones around here. Actually, have Amnon come to our F1 race car. So my desk is like right next to this, so I always look at this during the day. 3 pieces, left, right, and center. Similar to the seat cushion, sanding, priming, and painting. Really not that complex of post-processing. And with the printing that we're getting, a bit of post-processing, we get this really nice and beautiful looking part.
Looks real nice. All right. Well, we will have a chance for a few more questions at the end. With that, Maggie, if you want to go ahead and get set up, I'm going to pull the audience here one more time before we go to Maggie. So let's just see what challenges you guys are experiencing with additive. Material, speed, size, budget. You're just not sure. Let's take a few seconds here and see those answers come in. Our goal would be to all say you're having a challenge with size. That would be like the dream poll question right now for us. All right, they're still coming in. We'll wait a few more. All right, let me share these results. Okay, so size, look at that. Man, it's my lucky day. Next up would be materials and speed, and then budget. So thank you for answering that. Let me give Maggie permission to actually share her screen so we can see Blade. Maggie, can you share your screen now?
Yep, all set.
All right, great. There's Maggie. She is coming to us live from New York. So I will pass it over to her.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so as Abby said, I am over here in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm just going to really briefly go over Blade, BigRep's in-house slicing software. Blade is a pretty an easy-to-use slicer that's been developed by our team in Berlin, including people from materials, from engineering, from R&D, all coming together to sort of make a really great product that essentially is made for large format printing, and even more precisely made for BigRep machines. We were using third-party software before, but essentially what we wanted to provide all of our clients with is an optimized program that really allows you to minimize the amount of material you used and minimize your print time. So basically optimization on all levels to get the fastest, best quality print. As you can see here, this is just the basic layout of Blade. It looks a little bit like Cura. So if you are familiar with Cura, this probably will ring a little familiar to you. I've pulled up here the Studio G2 machine. So this is the last machine that Chris showed us, and this manifold part. I'll go over really briefly just the basic layout. You have here, once you download this from our website, and obviously as you all know, this is a free software, you're able to load all of the machines that BigRep has onto the platform. So if you have 1 machine or 5, you can have them all loaded up in here with their presets. And then you'll have your dual extrusion here, which then provides you with all the materials. So essentially, you can do as little as select your machine, place your STL, select your material and your layer height, and all those other settings are actually done for you. Obviously, if you're really familiar with slicing and if you have a really particular part that requires maybe a little more finessing, there are a lot of options that you can start to get into in terms of making your print unique and optimizing it in specific ways. Yeah, you'll see here that there's the dual extruders. So we have T1 and T0. This I did as a single extrusion print, so I don't have this one enabled right now. Over here on the left are just all of your basic tools in terms of scaling, movement, mirroring, rotating your part. And then as you'll see over here on the right-hand side, this is where you would then select your layer height. So we provide you with two different options, a default option and a visual. Default being, you know, your standard print outcome, and visual being a little bit slower, but giving you a little bit of better surface finish. And then as you can see here, we have a lot of options. You can keep it at basic or you can go to expert, and they just go on from there. I won't get into those right now though. So right now I'm going to switch over to preview mode. So I've already sliced this part just to make things a little faster. And then you can see now sort of how your part will look when it's completed printing. The great thing also is the preview that Blade gives you. I think it really shows you how your part's going to look, really allows you to see if there's any blips in your part, and gives you a really great and pretty accurate time estimation. So not only does it tell you the time, it also tells the amount of material that you need, and it breaks down that time even more specifically into the different elements of your part and how long they take, as you can see in the bottom right corner now. And then the other great thing is that you can then also just sort of slide through your part. So you can see how your part is actually built up over time, starting from layer 1 and moving up from there. There's a key here that explains what all the colors mean. So red being the outer shell, blue being that support structure, light blue being the brim that holds it to the plate, and so forth. And as I believe Chris mentioned, from here, if your machine is connected with Ethernet and your laptop is on your Wi-Fi network, you can actually upload your G-code once you save to file directly to your machine. Or if that is not possible for you, it's very simple. You just save it to a USB and bring that over to your machine and upload it that way. I think that's it for me, unless there are questions.
Just one, do I have to use Blade?
No, you don't have to. So Blade, except if you're using our Pro machine. Our Pro machine, you do have to use Blade due to the MXT technology, which is specific to BigRep, and therefore specific to our slicing software. But for the other machines, you don't have to. We do suggest it, as it's, you know, our engineers and material specialists have spent a lot of time sort of pinning in the correct settings for you. And it is a free software, but there are third-party softwares out there that if you're more comfortable with using, we will work with you to make those also work with the BigRep machines.
Okay, does Blade automatically orient your part?
Yes, that's actually, I should have said that. That's something I forgot. So that is a really great element of Blade as well. It does do auto orientation. So it will orient your part once you bring it in terms of, you know, having the least support structure, having, you know, the least amount of print time and least usage of materials. Which brings me to one other point that I did also forget, which is the batch printing. So Blade also will help you achieve batch printing if you are doing, you know, a smaller part, doing sort of trying to do manufacturing production. You can actually bring in a single STL and you can just click one button and hit multiply and fill entire build plate, which will do print all at the same time. It also allows you to do print part by part, but obviously you won't fit as many in as you need tolerances for that.
All right, great. Any other questions for Maggie on Blade? Looks like we're all set there.
Great.
All right, so as we start to transition back over to Frank and Anish, I'm just gonna ask one more quick poll question here, because we're gonna get into the very end here of our demo. We're gonna talk applications and case studies and things like that on how people are using it. So just curious what applications you all are using 3D printing for. Prototypes, tooling, jigs and fixtures, patterns, molds, end-use parts, or you're unsure. Let's see how many votes we can get in here. Let's go for 13 out of 13. Right now, prototyping and end-use parts are leading the way. I'll give everybody just a couple more seconds here. Prototyping's just pulled ahead. Mm-hmm. All right, share these. So right now, prototyping, but second is end-use parts, which is something that, Frank, we really haven't seen much in any of these demos yet. So maybe we can talk about that. And then I did get a few other application questions, so I'll kind of let you address that first, prototyping end-use parts, and then I'll throw in a few other questions for you.
Sure. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. As we said, we are moving to really helping customers solve problems. One of the problems is the expense of end-use parts and the injection molding or molds for vacuum forming or any of these high cost. And if you only have a low volume or you want to really customize it along the way, large format plastic extrusion systems can really work. So we have several customers that have implemented already. And some of the challenges are that if you have designed it for injection molding, then it doesn't always have the right dimensions or the right criteria for additive. Sometimes it won't give you the same strength. Sometimes it won't give you the right features. And we have a team that can allow you to work with you to solve that problem, to design it for additive. Everybody knows that term. And BigRep can provide you that solution. And one other thing, and how we can integrate with SourceGraphics. So SourceGraphics has a nice, very professional scanning solution, and Anish can talk to you about that. We have a automation solution, a configurator that allows you to go from scan all the way to 3D printed part. So if you're looking for a custom end use part and you have the opposite, or you have a prototype of it and you want to go to end use part, and maybe you don't have the data, we can very easily go from scan to part or STL to part. That's perfect for an end use part. It's perfect for a jig or a fixture. It's perfect, of course, for a prototype. So Anish, maybe I'll switch it over to you. Talk about where you see something like that, or end use part, some exciting applications that you can reference. Otherwise, I'll reference a few outside, but give you a chance to address that.
Thank you so much, Frank, and welcome back. We do have lots of customers who use the BigRep machine for various different applications. As Frank mentioned, SourceGraphics provides solution from 3D scanning to design for additive manufacturing to actually printing the functional part. So I'll go ahead and show you another example of a great application which we have, and just give me a second. If everybody can see behind me is a bike, which is a 3D printed bike, and it's a working bike. So I'm not sure if you can hear me, but okay, let me come in front. But it's an actually working model of a bike. It has 15 3D printed parts and just few motors or the other metal parts which join them together. Apart from that, everything is 3D printed. So that's the functionality of the part, and that's what you can achieve with the BigRep 3D printers. So as Frank mentioned, definitely there are different applications which people print with right now. We have customers using the BigRep machine in the aerospace industry a lot, automotive aftermarket industry, where customers require some custom made parts done on their cars. So they can go ahead, scan those parts or design those parts and then go ahead and print with the Pro or even with the BigRep 1. With the Pro HT material, it's great to print with the BigRep 1, but if you need something better in terms of strength than the PET carbon fiber, you can print it on the Pro. So we have customers printing something like that for a long time now. And on the visualization, meaning on the Hollywood industry, which is more into props or those kinds of parts, are very well printed on this big machine. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we own a 3D printing bureau here, and we have multiple smaller machines. We used to get big parts to print, but then you have to join them together. And if anybody has done that joining together, then everybody knows what's the pain in there. And you can print a single part here on the BigRep 1. So that's a big win there.
Absolutely. And you know, I'll throw in a plug for BigRep, which we didn't get as much publicity about it, but almost everything on the Apollo capsule in the movie First Man was printed on the BigRep 1 3D printer, several of them. And really it's perfect for props. And I know there's a lot of that, as you mentioned, in Southern California. Props, point of purchase displays, or any kind of signs, it all fits into the same category. It's a very low cost way of making a big custom plastic part. Another thing that became interesting is to see so many people thinking about end-use parts. I've been in the business, I don't know, 15 years or so. I try not to add it too much more than that. And people have been talking about end-use parts, but sometimes you need a kick in the butt to, really have that kind of quick movement of shift of technology. And it could be that the supply chain challenges with the COVID earlier in the year was really what it took for people to reconsider alternative technologies. So we sold several machines earlier in the year for companies that weren't able to get their molds out of either China or, believe it or not, even Italy weren't able to get the molds. They said, let's find an alternative. So they rushed to look at additive. We ended up selling them systems to make end-use parts for their particular application. And that's where the Pro and the G2 come in, because it can print engineering materials with a high quality production with repeatable strength and features and accuracy. So you can really build what you need instead of having to go to the expense of molding. And again, we can help you design for additive and get you there professionally. We have ebooks and case studies on our website and on YouTube talking about several of our most exciting customers. One is Yamada. They make a water scooter, and they decided they don't want to do injection molding. It would have been $500,000 a piece for half a dozen molds, and just didn't make sense. So they're 3D printing, and they went through the meticulous process of making the part designed for additive. So they improved the strength, improved the features, and reduce the support needed by the design, and therefore increase greatly the throughput. Bang, bang, boom, they have now 4 Big Rep 1s and are looking at a Pro. So, I mean, that's just great stuff. But, together with you, Anish, we can solve problems. That's why we're here. Not to sell boxes. Boxes are, from I think you mentioned the 80s. The box sales are from the 80s and 90s. Right now, together, we're looking to solve problems. So if you have a problem out there for that additive can solve, or you think it can solve, give SourceGraphics a call, and we'll try to solve it for you. Anish, I will turn it to you for the last word. Sorry, Abby.
All right. Let's hear from Anish one last time.
Okay. So I just wanted to let everybody know that if you have a problem, like Frank said, or you are interested in getting into additive manufacturing and don't know where to start, feel free to give us a call, and we'll go through the complete workflow about 3D printing and what you can expect after doing that. So don't worry, just give us a call and we can provide you with the pricing, the lead time. Those are the normal things which go in, but what is important is solving the problem which is currently you're experiencing. So feel free to give us a call anytime. We have a fleet of 3D printers and we have everything in stock here as well. So would be looking forward to solve your problems.
All right, great. And last note on that, like Anish had mentioned, we also have, they do, and Big Rep does as well, a full team that Maggie, Chris, and Amnon are happy, I'll volunteer them, are happy to also do a part analysis. So if you've got a challenge, we've got our full team and Anish's team too as well that can help you and take a look at that part too, to try and solve some problems. So with that, let's do some thank yous here. Thanks, Frank and Anish. You guys have been very informative, and also to Maggie, Chris, and Amnon as well. Already got one feedback that this has been a very informative, great hour. I love hearing that even before the call is over. So again, I wish we were together, but since we can't, this is kind of the next best thing. So with that, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Big Rep, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.